Actually, this is not my first time in Latvia. I've been in Riga before for a European telecommunications information sharing gathering.
Okay. So, and about this event, so is this important in the field of cybersecurity?
I think doing something like this conference for information security in the Baltics is really important. And what I find very encouraging is that there's so many people here, which means that the awareness of the issues, but also of the solutions we have, that's really good. So I'm happy to see that.
Okay. So, and what can you tell us about what's happening in Europe regarding cybersecurity? What are the things like we should look onto, should look up for?
Well, what I think is happening in Europe at the moment in terms of advancements in cybersecurity is that we're realizing that we can actually occupy a space as a digital safe area, a good place to do business. But that means that we really need to have our information security on order and that we need to get better at innovating in cybersecurity. We don't do enough of that yet. Not in key areas where you're talking about secure communication protocols, secure software and hardware. How many secure hardware producers do you know that come from Europe? And if you take a look at the giants in the industry that are innovating in general in IT, they're not from the EU. So I think we really need to change that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who should start to speak with the consumers, with all the consumers about the cybersecurity, about what should they do, what should they not do,
Well, I work for KPN Telecom as the Chief Information Security Officer, and we see our role to help the public. But I think that being said, there's a lot of burden placed on users to try to figure out how to be secure. You have to make sure you have everything up to date. You have to know about all the dangers. You have to make sure that your environment is safe. But why can't it be given to you by the hardware and software industry that's making all of the stuff that you use? Shouldn't the security just be built in instead of you having to figure out how to bolt it on later? So I think that we should actually help the user, not just place the responsibility and the burden on them.
Okay. So, and about some things about the future. So now we know all the computers we have, we use them every day. But what about quantum computing, about quantum security? What should?
So I think quantum computing is going to be one of those areas where Europe actually has, again, the unique opportunity to take a dominating role in a particular industry. The EU has pledged 1 billion euros for a quantum flagship program. This is unprecedented. And I think that Commissioner Oettinger sees the possibility for Europe to really take a leadership position in the area of quantum technologies, and that is quantum computing, but it's also post-quantum cryptography. So the cryptography that would be weakened, our current cryptography, Diffie-Hellman key exchange cryptography, which we use for all public key mechanisms, that will be weakened with the advent of a quantum computer. So the flip side of it, which is actually figuring out how are we still secure after a quantum computer, is called post-quantum cryptography. And I think we in the EU, with the universities and the private sector and the public sector, have a unique role to play in how we come up with new solutions, not only to create a quantum computer that's viable, but also to protect against someone else having one.
Mm-hmm. So, and the challenges when we get the quantum computers in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
For the developers and for users.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge right now for the developing of the quantum computer is actually being able to have it known, publicly available, and utilizable. It will be very much something, I think, that will be, after the initial champagne, will be something that's being very closely guarded as a secret, because it presents a unique security advantage over everyone that doesn't have it. So it'll be a quantum have versus a quantum have not. It's kind of similar to what we have in the nuclear arms industry. The first people with nuclear weapons, were very much a closed community and wanted to make sure there was no proliferation of that nuclear technology. Yeah. The same will happen with quantum computers, because it is such a unique advantage to have when only a few countries who can afford it financially, but also academically with the best people who can actually produce it. It's not going to be something that's available to the masses.
But someday?
Someday, maybe.
Okay, thank you for the conversation, and maybe some wishes to the audience or for the organizers.
I really hope you have a wonderful time at the DSS, and I'll be back next year, so I hope you join me. Thank you.